Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super review. This time reviewing episode 130. With the mastered Ultra Instinct, Goku finally gets the upper hand against Jiren. And even after Jiren gets a power-up of his own, Goku still keeps standing. He explains he can't give up because all of his friends are relying on him. While Jiren proclaims that things like that are meaningless before his power, Goku does defeat him and prove him wrong. But just as he's about to finish off Jiren, Goku becomes crippled from the result of Ultra Instinct pushing his limits too far. Jiren is about to use that opportunity to eliminate Goku, but he's saved by Frieza and 17, still in the ring. The fight isn't over yet. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, obviously, the animation. I think it's a very fair assumption to say that this is perhaps one of the most well-animated episodes of the entirety of Dragon Ball Super. There was basically no part of the action that looked kind of bad or boring. I mean, maybe there were a few parts when they had some repeated punch flurry animation things, but besides that, like, every other piece of action was unique or really well animated or just looked cool. This was the thing that I wanted to see in episode 129 and why I was especially disappointed in 129. Like, this is the literal end of Dragon Ball Super. This is like the final battle. The final battle of an arc that was mostly kind of sold to us just by the pure spectacle of it alone. The assumption is they want to end this fight and end this arc and end this series off with a bang. Having the animators put absolutely everything they have into it and to trying to make this look as cool as possible, even compared to stuff that happened previously in the series. And I think they succeeded in that, because I don't think there is a single episode that has just consistently looked so good. We even, at the very end, got to see Naotoshi Shida doing pure Naotoshi Shida, animating a ridiculously fast, intense final fight with Goku and Jiren with actual polished character art as well. That is basically what people want to see from Naotoshi Shida, and he did it, and they put it in at the very final attack at the coolest possible moment. And I think this is the kind of thing that people have wanted to see in Dragon Ball animation since Shida did that thing in Battle of Gods. That's not to say that Shida was the only thing that was worthwhile in this animation. The entire episode was really well animated, but it's just like the Shida part felt really kind of special because I feel like that is the thing that especially people who are familiar with Toei animation in general have sort of probably wanted to see from this series, and it didn't really fully give it to us until now, until the very end. Also, honestly, I really enjoyed a lot of the things they put in the Goku and Jiren fight. The thing I've been saying for like weeks and weeks was just sort of like, I hope this fight means something. I hope they actually do something with this fight. I hope they explore something, some kind of theme or rather. And they actually, thank God, did it. In that, well, throughout the last few episodes, but especially in this episode, Jiren is basically this exemplification of the idea of kind of like absolute strength above all else. He is this guy who believes that being strong is the only thing that matters, and that's all he really cares about. Whereas on the other hand, you have Goku, and while Goku also really wants to get stronger, he also actually does care about people. He cares about his friends, and his friends have sort of entrusted their hope onto him, and he's kind of fully embracing that, which Jiren is not, and that's why Goku is winning, essentially. I mean, literally, they kind of both get their final power-ups, but Goku's final power-up is superior, and he says it's basically because he actually kind of cares about other people. While the idea is a little cheesy in a way, I do think at the very least it's very appropriate for this arc in particular. Because the one thing that makes this arc kind of stand out, the thing that was kind of the selling point in the poster, was the fact that this was essentially a 10-man team, and it wasn't just Goku, but the entire supporting cast was also there fighting with him. Essentially, through acknowledging Goku, they kind of acknowledge everybody in this entire cast, or at least in the entire supporting cast of Dragon Ball Super. Because the idea that they say is that the one thing that kind of connects all of them, all of these very different people, is their connection to Goku and how they care about Goku and how Goku cares about them. Once again, it's bringing all these ideas from like the earlier parts of the tournament all together to try and make it feel like the final battle and this arc and this tournament actually do sort of mean something. Even if it doesn't necessarily mean much, it means something. It is not just entirely a battle where nobody really thinks about anything. You can complain about Jiren as much as you want. You can say he's kind of boring. You can say he's kind of bland. You can say he's kind of generic. But you can't say that they didn't try to do something with him. Because in this episode, they definitely did. The moments where he starts getting beaten by Goku, confronted by Goku, having his mindset sort of unravel and having him kind of getting legitimately distressed over that made me feel for Jiren more than any tragic backstory really could. It's not the strongest or most consistent theme of a fight ever, but it is a theme. It is something that had kind of been built up through previous episodes, and I do at least appreciate them so much for trying, because they didn't have to. As for what I didn't like about this episode, in all honesty, I kind of feel like there was a bit too many different things shoved into the one episode in a very quick span of time. I think one of the main examples of this is the fact that between Goku and Jiren, they kind of got about 4 distinctly different power-ups within the span of one episode. First, Goku masters Ultra Instinct and starts beating Jiren. Then Jiren, upon the realization that he's being cornered for the first time in years, gets his own sort of limit-breaking power-up that puts him on par with Goku. But then Goku gets back up and stronger and faster because he starts thinking about how all of his friends have trust in him. And then after Jiren actually attempts to hurt his friends, Goku kind of gets pissed off and defeats Jiren. Each one of those power-ups feel like they could have been the main story beat of their own episode, but yet here they're all kind of shoved into one. While I think the episode actually handled it well enough to the point it doesn't actually feel rushed, I think one actual consequence of this is it feels kind of detrimental to the idea of Ultra Instinct and Goku's form in general. In that, at the start of this episode, Goku had just mastered a new power. He had just gotten the new form that they had been building up for months, and yet all we really kind of got out for a payoff of that was him beating up Jiren for a few minutes until Jiren evened the odds. I kind of expected that the episode was going to be very sort of indulgent on the idea. Indulgent on showing that Goku has now gotten stronger than Jiren and kind of spending a lot of time showing off exactly how that is possible and why Ultra Instinct is better now and what's so cool about it and stuff like that. You know, in other parts of the series, after the character has gotten a power-up, they often play it very slow to try and sort of give the audience a real sort of concrete understanding as to what's happening. But in this episode, after Goku masters Ultra Instinct, everything is just complete breakneck speed, and I don't think we really get much time to appreciate it. Not to mention the fact that this form has been hyped up for months, and at the end of the day, it seems like it's only going to be around for one episode of the entire series. That is a surprisingly short amount of time when you think of how much build-up it's gotten. And while it does mean it's not going to be overused, I can't help but feel a little let down. And it certainly doesn't help that, once again, Goku spending this episode kind of talking about the power of friendship is making me confused over whether Ultra Instinct is supposed to be the power of selfishness or selflessness. They still haven't really resolved that. So, as for next episode, it's the end. No, seriously, it's the end. Next episode is the last episode, and it kind of almost feels like it snuck up on me, even though we knew it was going to end at this point for months and months. This next episode has a lot of things to do, in that they've got to wrap up the Jiren fight, talk about who won the tournament, work out the wish with the Super Dragon Balls, and try to put in some sort of resolution to this entire series that makes watching Dragon Ball Super from start to finish feel actually kind of satisfying. That sounds like a pretty difficult job to do on paper, but they have known this for ages, so I'm hoping they've been able to figure out a way to do this so that it actually feels satisfying. So, that was Dragon Ball Super episode 130. Was it a good episode? Yes. Was it a great episode? Probably yes. Was it great enough to fully live up to 1 year of hyping up? Honestly, I don't think so. But also, honestly, I don't think that was actually possible. I feel like it's been so long since I've watched an actual proper climax to something that's been going on for so long that I forgot the fact that when you have so long to think about this kind of stuff, your imagination sort of goes into overdrive, and in general, there's no way for the conclusion to live up to all of your expectations. There's always going to be some sense of disappointment that something that you wanted to happen didn't happen, or the thing that you wanted to happen didn't happen in a big enough way or a cool enough way for you. So at the end of the day, I can appreciate all the effort put into this episode, and I can appreciate all the things that they tried to do in this episode, but at least as of right now, the episode didn't fully grip me enough for it to become one of my absolute favorites in the entire franchise. I honestly think I still have some processing to do, even though I am putting my review out here, and it's going to be up on the internet presumably forever. Honestly, I think what people expect from a climax and what they want from a climax and how to make a climax satisfying is very purely subjective. It's not just as simple as this episode was good or this episode was bad, and that means everything is good or everything is bad. I don't know if the episode was good enough on its own to start raising everybody's opinions on the arc to a ridiculous degree, but at the very least, even if it didn't do that, at the very least, I do appreciate this episode so much for what it was, for what it did, and what it tried to do. So this is Gabby, signing out, and I'll see you all next week, for the last time, in this format at least. Bye guys!